What are some gruesome facts about pregnancy, childbirth, postpartum that not many people know? First trimester miscarriages are way more common than most people think. 1 in 4 pregnancies terminate before 3 months. The feeling of your organs going back down after they were cramped up for so long is a bit frightening. Especially the lungs. Standing up, I could feel like they were weighted down. People talk about cracked nipples and painful latching while discussing breastfeeding, but nobody talks about your uterus contracting during the first days of it. The thing that frightens me the most is pelvic floor issues. Imagine suddenly no longer being able to control when you pee. Postpartum depression is extremely dangerous and can last for months after their birth. After my twins were born, my wife had a complete personality change. She became suicidal and at times abusive to me. At one point, she ran away from home. I found her 2 states away. Her brother had to bring her home. Things got really, really bad. The twins are 5 now, and she's the person I married again. She doesn't like to talk about those times. The only thing she'll say is it was the darkest time in her entire life. After birth, I sweat so much at night that I would wake up soaking wet from head to toe for the first week or 2. Sometimes it takes weeks to be able to stand up, sit down, walk again without a ton of pain. No one fucking told me that the first time. I was so focused on how the actual birth might be painful, had no realization that for over a month afterwards I'd be in danger of burning to death if the house ever caught fire because I could barely walk. Nobody warned me that my insides would feel like they were falling out when I stood up the first few days after birth. PTSD as a result of a difficult birth is surprisingly more common than you think. I still suffer symptoms even now, and my daughter is now 10. Passing clots the size of rocks. And bleeding for weeks after. My wife's placenta wouldn't detach after the birth of our daughter, so the nurse just went up in there and got it out. I was oohing and ahhing over our new baby girl, and I look over to see someone damn near elbow deep treating my wife like a sock puppet. It was so jarring. Mothers are so damn tough, dude, it's unreal. The leading cause of death in pregnant and postpartum women in the US is homicide. They go full crazy pushing your stomach after birth to make sure everything is out. I read some books, but no one prepared me for that. It was like having another baby. Contractions don't finish after labor. You have the afterbirth pains to look forward to when your uterus returns to its usual pre-pregnancy size. Postpartum mental illness is a thing, and it can be horrific. You will need to prep yourself for the second birth. What is that? It's when you have your first full bowel movement after. Currently pregnant. Have pregnancy rhinitis, which is effectively like a cold caused by being pregnant. Also have morning sickness. Have you ever had uncontrollable sneezing while blowing chunks? Not bucket list worthy, I promise. Preeclampsia can last up to 6 weeks postpartum. You'd be amazed at how many emergency personnel don't know this. When asked if you have any medical history, please volunteer the information that you are postpartum. Don't wait for them to specifically ask. Steps off of soapbox. Hyperemesis gravidarum. Terrible. I lost 50 pounds during my pregnancy from it. The placenta is the size of a plate and leaves an internal open wound that size. That also needs to heal. Edited to add the responses and shock to this make me really angry about the level of maternal education and care that is being given. There's a very high chance that you will poop during the birth. Pushing is pushing. If you don't poop, then it means you are in for a bigger poop afterwards. Speaking of poop, the baby will often poop on you during the skin-to-skin immediately after the birth. When you get a C-section, they may have to take the section of intestines covering your uterus out of your body. Like, it's just sitting in a bowl next to you. Then once the baby's out and your uterus is stitched back up, they just pack your guts back in and sew you up. Usually it's just pushed to the side, though. Also, your uterus is pulled partially out of your abdomen so they can deliver the baby. Seemed like it was taking a long time for my OBGYN to stitch up tears and an episiotomy. I whispered to my LD nurse if it normally took this long. She whispered back, "Girl, you're torn from clit to shit. It's gonna take as long as it takes." The first time you have sex after childbirth, even if it's been 6 weeks, is excruciating. ETA for the woman. You will probably be very low on iron. Iron supplements will probably make you very sick. Kellogg's cereal such as Frosted Mini Wheats have 100 of your daily value of iron in a serving. Put 2 measuring cups of it in a Ziploc bag and snack on them during the day. If you have labored to full dilation, you can still wind up with an emergency C-section, so you don't get the "at least you can sit down your baby has a nice round head" benefits of not delivering vaginally. If your baby's head is stuck in the birth canal when they do the C-section in these circumstances, freeing it comes with a really juicy squelching pop breaking the suction. Quite unnerving to hear. Can't believe this hasn't been mentioned: hemorrhoids. Often women don't know they have them from labor due to the swelling, but add it to the list. If you don't have adequate calcium intake, your body will pull it from your bones and teeth. Medieval European people assumed that women would lose a tooth for each pregnancy. Thank you for everyone in this thread solidifying that having children is absolutely not for me. Props to all of you who have gone through it for your babies. You're strong and brave as hell. My wife is currently driving herself nuts with worst-case scenario doom scrolling for pregnancy and birth, as we are currently trying. I am commenting here because she knows my username and I am certain she will read every last comment in this thread. Hi Latiesha. The umbilical cord is dense, tough, and sinewy. When you cut it you end up sawing a little with the scissors. I don't know what I expected, but that was weird. If you are a short person carrying a big baby, your rib cage will take a beating. I'm 5 feet 2 inches and have long legs but a short trunk, and my son was delivered at 21 8 pounds 13 ounces. During the last 2 months in utero, he had no room. His kicking and stretching were right up to my sternum. I was bruised for weeks after birth. I didn't notice any vaginal pain, probably because my ribs were so sore. Not sure it's gruesome, but when they remove your placenta during a C-section, you can feel tugging up by your collarbone. Don't stand up immediately after giving birth without a spill pad on the floor. I had natural childbirth. The nurse left the room, and I got up to go pee. Blood-colored fluid rushed out of me and into a huge puddle on the floor. I just stood there, shocked. The nurse came back in almost immediately. She shook her head and blamed herself. She said she forgot to tell me not to get up until she put down towels or stuff because the vast majority of new mothers couldn't get out of bed due to numbing meds. Every pregnancy can be completely different. The horrible things you got used to the first time? It's very likely you will have completely new horrible things this time also. Sometimes the drugs don't kick in before the C-section. I felt my third one completely. If you have to use the toilet and vomit, sit on the toilet and puke into the trash can. You might need to poop while breastfeeding. Like, in the middle of it. Sit on the toilet and do your business while the kid feeds. This will not be the weirdest experience while parenting. Near the end of my pregnancy I had terrible gingivitis. Apparently pregnancy can cause this and carpal tunnel in both hands from the swelling that lasted months postpartum. Also, no one tells you about the swelling that can happen postpartum. I had a C-section and the swelling in my legs and ankles was so painful it lasted for weeks. I could barely bend my knees and my ankles were not existent. You secrete a disgustingly rank fluid called lochia for over a month after giving birth, in addition to blood. For 8 weeks my vagina smelled worse than Satan's asshole. If you are on antibiotics after birth and breastfeeding, your baby can projectile poop. Like a little poop cannon. I'm child-free, but these comments have me feeling a type of way. Like honestly, mothers are superhuman. Women are incredible.